Hey everybody, thanks for taking the time to listen to the Real Talk podcast. We hope that these discussions will inform and inspire you to engage in your own Real Talk. Today's episode is brought to you by our official sponsor, Tri-Van, builders of custom trucks, trailers, and enclosure buildings tailored to your needs. Be sure to check them out at www.trivan.com. A big thanks to them for making these conversations possible. Now, on to the episode. Hey everybody, we're back on the Real Talk podcast. After our summer hiatus, Tyler's laughing. What's going on there, Tyler?
Yeah, very formal now.
Oh yeah, so formal. Well, we figured it's been a few weeks. We should give you folks an update and let you know what we're thinking for the future of the podcast and the plans we have in the future, as that is what the future is.
We wanted to see if we still knew how to talk into microphones.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. Might be getting a failing grade right now. But anyways, we also decided to shake it up a little bit and bring on someone who is very instrumental behind the scenes, our editor, Mariah Tamiga. Welcome to the pod, Mariah.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
Yeah, a lot of fun.
Again, very formal.
I know. We're so formal, man.
So you'll notice when we got Mariah started working for us, although we only think we put out like one call for an editor, and then she was like, hey, I'll do it.
That's right.
Yeah, like our whole look changed and we look like we're actually doing something useful now. So though the audio doesn't lie.
Yeah, Tyler.
I try my best
all the time. Yeah. Anywho, so yeah, we've definitely done a bunch of episodes in between. So we figured we'll give our quick reflections on the 6 episodes that have gone since our last feedback. And then we'll tell you about a couple ideas we have for new episodes this fall. And then we'll talk about what the podcast is going to look like with Tyler's move upcoming. So stay tuned. Stay listening. So episode 47 was with David Ziesma from Redeemer Podcast, Redeemer University. Thoughts on that? Maybe we'll go to Mariah first.
Yeah, I think it was a really encouraging episode. I know Redeemer was really happy to come on and promote what they're doing. Yeah, they haven't had as much CanRC support in the last number of years. So I think they were excited to get in front of an audience that can, hear about what they're doing and the moves that they're making there with their leadership. So we got some really good feedback on that episode, even from Redeemer leadership. The board reached out and enjoyed that episode. So it was cool to see people's response to that. Some shared, we didn't ask a ton of questions that were maybe could have gotten better answers. So that's maybe something people have to look into if there's still concerns that they have, like with theistic evolution that was brought up in feedback messages and comments. So that might be something people need to look at further in conversation.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see where it goes. I mean, I was encouraged. I had not, like I think probably said it in the podcast, it's been a while. Like I hadn't even thought about Redeemer as an option going to school, but now I definitely felt encouraged to
pursue that further or look at that further. Yeah,
definitely for my kids
likewise.
So. Yep. Enjoyable episode. It was a great guy to talk to, and I think we had a good conversation. It's definitely not the end of all conversations. I think there's obviously, as you said, there's more to talk about there.
But keep that dialogue going, and hopefully we hear more people go in there and
or at least asking tough questions too.
Yeah,
like that's a good topic
important
for theistic
look
evolution.
at.
Well, especially the people in like Southern Ontario. It's like so close to. I know some people who went out west to go to Trinity Western. So this is actually another a Christian option in the area is really good.
Okay, and then we had episode 48. That was the Ontario Party. We had Derek Sloan on. That was an interesting one. What'd you think of that one, Ty?
I was just Googling what the Ontario Party, how they did in the election. So
2%.
We joked today that maybe we negatively affected the outcome of that election.
Could be.
No, Derek, I mean, I think we were more skeptical before we started talking to him than we were afterwards. So that was good.
Yeah.
I think, Derek reached out to us, or one of his people did. Definitely one of I mean, we've had this debate a few times, but definitely one of the better options to vote for in terms of like a principled approach to politics, but not someone who was just about to form government. So definitely one of those things where you're like, do you vote for the guy or not? I actually did end up voting for him. And our conservative guy in downtown Hamilton
Ish.
in East End Hamilton. Actually, interesting riding because our NDP guy got kicked out of his party.
That's right. By conservative, right?
Yeah, so the conservative guy won. The NDP guy got kicked out of the
Yeah.
party and took half the votes with him, split the vote with the
Oh.
NDP
Oh,
guy,
wow.
and the
Smart.
conservative guy got in.
Nice.
So I wasn't in tune to my local riding. I went Ontario party, but that was
Interesting switch.
yeah, and also there was about 7 people who voted for that guy. So
Fair.
I was like
You and
the
your
eighth-
wife.
I was like the 8th guy. So.
Yeah. Nice.
But in terms of a principled approach, or it's like voting for People's Party, I guess, too, right? Like, or CHP.
Yeah. I thought he was a decent guy. I was definitely a lot more skeptical when we started that. I was like, I don't know, like he's been in politics a while, keeps jumping from
Yeah.
this to that. I'm like you're just looking for fame or whatever this is. But seemed like, I mean, again, it's over Zoom, so it's hard to tell, but he seemed like a decent guy. He's definitely given up a lot of family time, and
Mhm.
it's a big sacrifice to be on the road,
Yeah, that
be in
was
politics.
that kind of struck me. Yeah, like
Yeah.
personally, I thought he would be a little bit more, just in it for himself or whatever. But yeah,
Yeah.
you get the feeling like he's obviously just giving up tons of life. He could easily go do something way easier,
Mhm.
Yeah.
better for his family.
Yeah,
So he does care. So
he's a sharp enough guy, so I appreciate him putting his
Mhm.
talents forward. And yeah, we'll
Mhm.
see where that party goes. But it was
Yeah.
nice to have I had in my riding, the Ontario Party guy was pro-life, and then my PC guy wasn't. So I was like, well, okay, I'm just gonna go Ontario Party. On
yeah,
that.
I mean, those are the things that it comes down to a lot of times, right?
What'd you think, Mariah?
Yeah, I thought that was a good episode. Trying to recall what was all said there. I don't think we're, trying to be a political platform podcast either,
No.
but they
Yeah, we're
asked to
pretty
come
deep into
on, so
politics
we're
there.
not really going to turn people away necessarily.
Sometimes we will.
Yeah, sometimes that doesn't mean it's a free for all, but yeah, I think it was a good episode. I'm trying to remember who I voted for. I think I went Ontario Party as well. But yeah, I think it showcased at least what they're trying to do. And he even said, like, it would be a miracle to form any
Yeah,
type of
yeah.
government. So yeah, like you said, to give up all that time knowing, there's a big chance that none of their candidates would get in, I
Mhm.
think just shows dedication to
Mhm.
making Ontario better.
Yeah, I hope they stay at it.
And it always it puts pressure on the PCs too to maintain like somewhat of a conservative stance.
that's
and
true.
Stuff. So that's always good, at least to push
Mhm.
them in that direction.
Mhm.
Okay, that's it for that one. We'll move on to episode 49, Deconstruction. This was kind of a fun one with Pastor Paul. Did not know that guy at all.
Yeah, he was
before.
an interesting guy to talk to. Definitely like super easy to talk to. Like
Oh yeah, he came.
lots
in
of fun.
Well,
He
he's a
came in-
podcaster himself,
Yeah,
so
he
he
gets
knows
it.
how to do it. Yeah.
He came in here. He's like, so what am I here for, fellas?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Mariah hooked us up.
Yeah,
So
like-
you knew him from something,
I've
or
heard of him,
him?
his name around circles and things, and then found out he had his own podcast. So I think it's great if we can collaborate with other podcasters and lift each other up. So, yeah. And then I went through the series that he had, and one of them was on deconstruction, which I don't think is a topic so well known in our communities yet, but I think it's not too far down the line. So I thought it was, a good way to get ahead of what might be coming for our churches and families. And I thought he really presented it well, and like what to look out for and how to respond, when kids have questions or things like that, or are searching. So I was really encouraged by that episode, and found him really easy to listen to
Yeah.
as well.
it was super. Well, it's always nice to talk to somebody who's already like he did the podcast series, so he's like already.
He's well versed in it
It's like
for
when
sure.
we had Reverend Winston Bosch on, and
Yeah.
we talked about like male and leadership. He had done a series of sermons on it, so it's like he's already got all the content figured out.
Mhm.
We just have to ask questions, and he just runs with it. So that was like makes it easy. But I think like you said, like getting out kind of in front of something that may be coming. I heard from a few people that they thought like they kind of went into the episode thinking he was going to be more in favor of deconstruction, which I did when I listened to him too, or on his podcast too. I think he kind of did that on purpose just to kind of like
Just a tease.
provoke a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
Devil's
But
advocate.
then
Devil's advocate, for
he
sure.
like kind of played both sides and like explained why,
Mhm.
why he's not really like pro deconstruction. So yeah, I thought it was good, easy. So
Yeah, he was great to talk to. I heard a cool story about that too, actually. So Bruce DeBoer is the chairman of the board for RP.
Mhm.
He told me that. So he's an elder in his church, and he was listening to this podcast as he was driving, and then he was dealing with a situation with a child, like a teenager, or I'm not sure exactly, young adult, And then with these parents, and he was trying to help with the parents understand their child. He was like, you got to listen to this podcast. Like, this is exactly what's happening in this situation. And I thought it was kind of cool. Like, you just do these things. You don't really think about it, but it's real life. It's happening to people. And
has a lot of relevance for
hopefully
sure.
it can help, parents or anybody just understand, like, oh, like my kid's going through this. Like, this started with A, and then they deconstructed to B to C, etc. And that's the path you go down. So,
yeah, his comment about letting kids and people ask questions, I thought was really important, of giving space for questions to be asked, and, you know, given reason why we do things the way we do, not just because this is what we have always been taught, right?
Like creating the culture of like, we have the answers. So ask
why
the questions.
we shouldn't be afraid to, you know, for any questions to come, because we should have the answers.
And if you're afraid, then we should just be smarter and go find more answers, because we have the answers. So
exactly.
Yeah. The truth doesn't lose in an open debate. So
it kind of reminded me of like a few of our episodes, like the one with Jeff Morris. We talked about like apologetics and like, you know, the big questions that everyone has.
Yeah.
Like stuff like that. Like you just don't think about it, but somebody's thinking about it. So like, don't be afraid of the question, because like the answers are there. There are good answers. So you just might not know them right away.
It relates even to back to the education, not to go completely back to Redeemer, but that whole style of education where it's like, you know, we know what the truth is, but feel free to question and try to understand. That's the way you should do it. Like that's a healthy way to learn, I think, at least for my 2 cents. So, okay, cool. Yeah, that was deconstruction. Any other thoughts? We good on that?
No.
Awesome. All right. Episode 50. Now, this was a fun one and a big one. A lot of you guys listen to that. Into the Light with Jake Volk and John Michael Bout. So they have this whole documentary. If you've listened to it, you understand what it's about. They actually reached their goal and then some. We checked on that for the podcast. They're up to 76, it looks like their time.
$76,500.
Yeah.
Which they've raised, if I'm not mistaken, probably 40,000 since they've been on the podcast. So
not that there was 40,000 from the podcast.
But definitely there were a whole bunch of people who reached out who were really encouraged by it. So I can imagine that many of them did donate and have influenced other people too as well. So
can you still donate?
Yep. It's still up, and I would still encourage people.
If you haven't listened yet, go back and listen to that episode and check out what they're doing. I think it's super important.
That documentary's not out yet, eh?
No, I don't think it will be for about a year. They said they're working on editing it, or maybe the end of the year.
I think end of the year was the goal.
I think,
yeah. But they have a whole,
the summer,
it's all linked in that episode too, so you can check out their socials and their website and all that stuff.
Stay in touch with them.
Yeah, and then I don't know. I would encourage people to continue to give to those guys.
Yeah.
Like they've got high aspirations, but they're like, if you listen to the episode, like we talked about so many other avenues that like these conversations can go down with pornography, and like they just touched on a little piece of it, but there's so many more resources that could be created, or like groups and support and all sorts of stuff. So I know they were working on a podcast, kind of like
a mini series.
Yeah, they started that. They did one episode with Heath Lambert, so you can go search them and wherever you listen to podcasts and check out what they're doing there. So they're releasing things already, and I listened to some of it, and it's really good.
Oh, neat! So, I didn't even know that.
Yeah,
they do that. Yeah, so like and they could honestly continue to do that. Like they could. I mean, Jake already does a podcast, right?
Yes, he does.
Yeah.
Oh,
he posted about it today, actually. So
Chats Under the Sun podcast.
Chats Under the Sun.
So check that out as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, these guys, they were great to talk to. So, but they could easily start a podcast and just support people and keep that ministry kind of going. So,
totally. Yep. Okay. And then finally, Safe Families. Oh, no, wait. Sorry.
Chris.
General Sided.
General
Chris. Yes. I forgot about that one. Which was a good episode.
Mariah. We're just going to throw to Mariah.
Yeah,
Mariah has so
that
much to say about Sided.
No, I think it was a good episode. I think it's just not relevant for every single person listening. Yeah, it's a niche for sure.
I had a bunch of people who said they really enjoyed it. So they're the same people who enjoyed our episode on the church order and things like this. But definitely interesting kind of like internal look at the Canadian Reformed Church and like what we're up to. And like what Lucas, you said earlier, like nothing really controversial, like kind of more, it's been more heated probably.
Yeah.
A little more housekeeping kind of items in our churches now.
The Ecclesiastical Fellowship one,
that's
looking at tiering that or whatever that might look like. Found that really interesting.
There's definitely things that we're working through. But
Yeah.
a lot of this stuff, it seemed at General Synod got deferred. So
Yeah.
I was like,
Mhm.
oh,
Lot
we
of
need more
deferring.
research,
Yeah.
push it down. Which was like, yeah, I mean, just the timing of it and the amount of time that everyone had to work on it in their committees and stuff.
Yeah, it's interesting because like for the podcast, it's not a CanRef podcast by any means, but like certainly a good chunk of the audience is CanRef.
Mhm.
So it's interesting to cover those issues. But yeah, to your point, Mariah, like we don't want to
Mhm.
have to do that every single time.
Yeah,
either, right?
exactly.
So
What'd you think about like, did you learn anything about like like how things get there and stuff like that? I found that pretty interesting. Like,
I didn't
had
really
been
know
learning-
any of that.
I had been learning a little bit about that, like since I was like, I'm in council.
I just
in
know that they have
Cornerstone.
to read so much, and I'm so grateful that's something I'll never have to do or be allowed to do. Anyways.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just like little things like how does stuff actually get to the table, and like little tidbits like Chris mentioned like things should get dealt with at like regional synod a lot more. We don't really like
Mm.
Yep.
like, oh, regional synod's meeting. Okay, whatever. Right.
But a lot
Probably
happens
should
there.
Put a little bit more thought into like what's actually going
Yeah,
there,
because that
instead of
affects your
sending-
local
yeah,
church. Yeah.
sending everything to general synod. So next general synod is not like 3 weeks long.
Mhm.
it's kind of like the same thing we do in government. It's like everybody cares about the
Push it to the
federal
top.
election, provincial, we care, but not as much.
You say the same thing
Municipal,
about- yeah.
no one votes.
No one cares. Yeah.
You say the same thing about like court cases. Yeah, that was the decision, but it'll get appealed. It's going to the Supreme Court. Or
Yeah,
whatever. It's like,
exactly.
I'll worry about when it's big.
Yep.
Big time.
Cool. Okay. Now the last one, Safe Families with Hildy Sleuts. Thoughts on that? We'll go to Mariah first.
I was very convicted by
Yeah.
it. I thought it was super well done. I really appreciate Hildy and the work she's doing there. Yeah, I think it touched probably a lot of people just with the need that's out there to serve families, and just the idea that the whole thing about if they do what they're trying to do, that they could eradicate the CAS. Yeah, CAS. I thought
Yep.
that was like pretty powerful. And just the idea of that being what the church has always done and just trying to foster that work, I thought was a really cool perspective and way to look at it. And it definitely, convicted me of my need to get involved as well and to see
Mhm.
where I can help other people, whether it be through a program like Safe Families or just also the people within your own church, really
Mhm.
trying to seek them out and help
Mhm.
them too.
You were convicted. Like she like convicted us on the podcast.
Yeah, I know. I
She's
was
"So
like,
what are
oh, you
doing?
guys.
And what
Yeah.
are you doing?
Yeah.
And you have
Yeah.
a spare room in your house? All right.
Use
sign
it.
here.
Yeah. I thought it was cool.
But it was good. Like
yeah.
it does really make you think like what have you been given and like how can you share it?
Yeah.
Like
Thinking back on that too, I did get some feedback on that point. I love the episode. Hildy's a great person. They're doing amazing work. I'm not taking anything away from that.
but
Dun, 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 dun. But
We'll
I
say
don't.
and
Well, and sure, either or. You know, one of these transition words.
yeah.
Anyways, I'm getting distracted from my point. But all that to say, that is great work, but not everyone has to do it or is capable of doing it.
Hmm.
And I appreciate how much she pushed us on that. And I think everyone should take a good look at themselves and be like, am I doing enough for the church and for the gospel, blah, blah, blah. But that might not be in children's ministries or helping out kids for everybody else, right? Like there is a
100%.
reality to life, and like, you know,
Mhm.
we run a business and we have this podcast, and that is a good chunk of our volunteer time. And there's always like A, B, C, D.
Oh, it's
you
good.
know.
He came up with an excuse for us.
There's a million other. Well, every podcaster can say they just have a podcast.
Yeah.
But
I got a podcast, yeah.
there's just a lot of things to do in life, and only so
Mhm.
much time. And everyone's
Well,
going to
there's
say
little
that,
things like-
but also
Every opportunity is not for everyone either, right? Like she talked about like literally almost like just picking people up off the street and like housing them. And I'm like, I wouldn't just pick someone up off the street and house them in my house with my kids. Like
Mm-hmm.
my kids are like 3 and 1.5. Like that's just not happening.
well, that's the whole body
Right.
of Christ thing too,
So
right?
that's the thing, right?
Not everyone's a hand, not everyone's a foot. Like there's all these different parts.
But I like that when I was like when we were chatting with her, like I could think about people in my church who are doing the things that she was talking about, or like who are in that place, or who would be willing to do that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
Like all the different scenarios, like, oh yeah, that's like right up this person's alley, which is
Mhm.
like, yeah, exactly your point.
yeah,
a-
not
it's a
everyone can
body,
do
right?
everything.
Like,
And
But to push back a little bit,
yeah, let's go.
I don't think that was necessarily her whole point that you have to do everything. It was more look at what you're doing and
look at
see
what you
how
can
you
do.
can fit other people into that.
Yeah.
And the whole idea of just bringing a network to a new family, like
Mhm.
how she said, we know people who sell doors, or we know people who are plumbers or electricians. And that's what people are missing, is that network of community.
Mhm.
And we have that like at our fingertips. So yeah,
No, that's a fair point.
I don't know. I don't think it's necessarily, because she didn't mention that, it's don't look at it as extra work, but just bringing people alongside you in what you're already doing.
Mhm.
Right. And that's not like 5 families. That might be one family or a few children that need help or something like that, or a parent. So
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
you can push back further. I don't
Yeah,
know.
no. It's kind of, that's kind of true and kind of not true. Like, it definitely is more work, but you can also fit them into your life.
Mhm.
And it also might, like, how that could get played out is like someone like Hildy goes to these people and is the bridge to the church community. And then she's like, oh, like, Mariah, I've got these like young girls that need some mentorship. Can you spend an afternoon with them doing XYZ?
Right.
Like,
It-
that
it
wouldn't
doesn't
be
even
too
have to
much
be-
extra
yeah.
work, but like, Hildy's the one doing it full time, and then you can work it into your schedule.
Hmm.
It doesn't even have
See
to be
what I
that
mean?
formal, right?
Yeah,
But, like,
I think that would be okay. I think that's kind of what the point is.
I think
Yeah.
so. Yeah.
well, yeah. it
Unless
doesn't
we
even-
just totally miss the point of the podcast and
Yeah,
we're just
people are gonna-
misconstruing
people are
it.
gonna
but
write in and be like, you guys just don't understand what she's
we got to
doing.
go back and listen to it. No,
Yeah.
I think that's her point, is just bringing people together and bridging that gap between the world and the church.
Well, I like how organic that ministry can be, because like I think about that type of ministry a lot of times, and you think about it like CAS, so where you're like, okay, there was a problem, someone got called, they went and tried to solve the problem, they link people up with different services, problem gets solved or doesn't, and the issue progresses or whatever. But this is a lot more like, perhaps there's a call, but also like you're there, you meet somebody through someone else, and they're not necessarily like, they don't think they're struggling, but like when you meet them, you're like, you don't really have a lot of connections, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, we're blessed with this community.
Mm-hmm.
So you invite, a mother to like our church, we have like this MOPS group that's like
Right.
mothers of preschoolers or whatever. So like, it's just a bunch of moms who get together and they have a babysitter and they just like have a mom's morning or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then you bring her out there, and then, oh yeah, okay, well, I need a babysitter for this. And now she's a babysitter. Now she's a friend, right? Now she has like a community, which is like, yeah, what we totally take for granted probably.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, that's a pretty good segue, because, we're going to talk about me moving, but that's something where we were like, well, Mariah, you asked me like right before the podcast, like, why you're just sticking with the Canarsie Church? You think about like other churches, but like, that's one thing that you're like, okay, well, I can just put down roots in a different place, because I know, like, we went to the church in Calgary a couple weeks ago, and it's like walking into any church around here. Like, you just walk in, you don't know anybody, but like, yeah, it reminded me of the church in Guelph. Like, I don't know anybody really, but then
Yeah.
you're like, oh, you kind of look familiar. You kind of look familiar. We all like, you kind of know we're going to sing the same songs. Like, I talk to them after, and pretty much what they're thinking.
Mm-hmm.
You don't agree with them on everything necessarily, but
Similar.
yeah, well, like they right away, like, oh, hey, who are you? Where are you from? Whatever. Like you're in their community right away.
Mm-hmm.
So it's totally like different than, yeah, like even being a refugee or something and just getting dropped in the middle of the city and you don't know anybody.
Right.
And you're like, I find some services.
Yeah.
Yep.
So we don't really do that. Like, yeah, conservative minded, kind of like, we don't like even the government or anybody telling us like, here, do this with your kids. We have our own communities for that. So
And is it wrong to bring people into that?
no, like
No,
that's
But
a
I
good
think
thing.
that's something we really have to
you can
like
bless people with that, right?
just really think about ourselves and pray through, is where can we be doing it? And if
Yeah.
we're not, why not? Right? Like really look at our time and how we're using that for God's kingdom, for
Yeah.
his glory.
But we do stuff like campfire and stuff like
Sure.
that. That's like all, quote unquote, giving back. But it's like, this is how we can involve kids, and we do.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's not all doom and gloom, but
No.
yeah. So
Okay.
yes, get involved. No, you don't have to, but do it.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just like, not
Well, I'm
everyone
not
can
a
be.
volunteer for Real Talk, so I better get involved.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, yeah,
No,
sorry.
Not everyone can be Hildy. That was pretty much my point.
My
Yeah,
point
she-
was, not everyone can get paid for doing real talk.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, actually, you know what? Let's just segue into some of the personal stuff. So you're moving. I just got married.
Yeah,
And
big times.
Mariah, well, you can't talk about that, but we can talk about like what you do
Mhm.
full time at least.
Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah. So I work full time for Ligonier Ministries.
Yeah.
I'm the representative for Canada. So that just means mostly I take care of donors, supporting them and serving them, and more the boots on the ground here. So just helping expand the ministry and grow it wherever we can, filling needs, serving churches, things like that. So we're really in the infant stages still, but we're growing. So it's pretty cool to be
Sounds
part
like
of.
you're busy, though.
Oh yeah, kingdom work. No,
Meeting
it's
and
good.
greeting. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Wheeling
So-
and dealing. Nice.
hmm
No, that's cool. And then part time doing this, I guess.
And then yes,
Yeah.
part time. I am the podcast manager, whatever that means.
Editor, producer,
Editor, producer.
social media guru.
Yeah,
I don't know.
all things. I say all things pre and post production, kind of. So taking care of the scheduling, helping you guys out, and then all the editing, social media, everything that comes after.
Cracking the whip over me and Ty.
Yeah, making sure you guys are
Yeah.
keeping going and
You guys
things
podcast
like
Honestly,
that.
I think
Yeah.
we would miss podcasts if you weren't here today.
Oh no,
Yeah.
you'd
We
be
would not be
fine.
as
You did
prepared.
it for a year.
We did fine, but then we
Yeah.
like started relying on this, like, yeah. So at 5:30, you'll be there. Okay. Yeah. All right. We can do that.
Yeah, I think it's also helpful for guests just to know exactly where to be, what
Sure.
time, all of
Yeah.
that. So, yeah, no, it's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate working with you guys. You do a great job. So,
We appreciate you
Yes.
quite a bit.
it's my pleasure.
It's an excellent job.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you have more to say, but I'll just get off mine quickly. I got married like a month ago now. So,
Oh,
yeah. Clapped her in the
Yay.
background.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which has been super fun.
Good
So,
on you.
Mhm.
yeah. Shout out to my wife, Elle. Thank you.
Big
We'll
old
have to
shout
get
out.
her on the podcast.
We should. She would actually love that. She listens to every episode. So,
There you
She's a
go.
pretty, yeah. She's pretty
she's
into it.
avid.
She
avid.
promotes it. That's
she does.
good.
She does.
Say, my wife, not so much.
No, but she's
So-
been on. So, there's
That's
that.
true.
That's true.
But yeah, no, she's busy with a couple kids, so
That's
you don't get a lot
fair.
of podcasting
Yeah.
time,
Yeah.
So
Anyways, and then you're moving. So,
That's
that's
it.
going to impact the future of
Big
this
thing.
yeah,
And where are you going?
Calgary.
Good to know. Glad
Why?
I found that out right now.
Who knows? That's good.
Adventure. Go west.
Adventure. Yeah.
Change of scenery.
I said I should come up with a good elevator pitch before we get on here, but
There wasn't an elevator to the studio.
no, no there's no elevator. Yeah, no, it's I don't know, just change. I don't know. I'm excited about a bunch of different stuff, so I could talk for about an hour or so. But
Give us your top three.
one thing I'm really curious about is just like the mindset of the West in Canada, like in like political terms, in like socially,
Church wise.
church wise, like yeah, the Western, like we talked about a bit with Chris DeBoer about synod, like Western synod and Eastern, or not Western synod, West
General Synod
regional,
West
general
and
synod,
East.
regional synod West and regional synod East. There we go, we got it.
Yeah.
Just the different mindsets, like different stuff going on. I think Calgary's probably not like your typical church out in the West, but yeah, I don't know. Just interested to see what people think. And like I've lived like really close to like the seminary, and like there's
Mhm.
lots of like
Professors.
professors, intellectual type like stuff going on. I mean, Calgary's no intellectual
The,
stuff going on.
the theology is in the air in Hamilton.
Well, no, it's like there's always people here. There's always people doing like, what do you call them? Like
Talks.
seminars, talks, and
Lectures.
lectures, and like big. There's
Post
always big things,
confession things.
Yeah,
blah, blah,
there's
blah.
always something cool going on,
Yeah.
and there's always like every weekend in the fall there's something.
There's
that you can
something,
be at,
yeah.
So there's nothing cool and nothing going on in Calgary.
Well,
but you're gonna move.
It is.
there.
I hear it's a lot different. Like, so they have like Calgary's actually pretty unique too, because it's about 2 hours away from Coaldale, Tabor, and 3 hours away from Edmonton, and that whole group of churches there.
Yep.
And then like 10, 12 hours away from the mainland BC. So
Yep.
you're pretty isolated. Well, they don't like to say isolated.
Yeah.
So I shouldn't say that. But they're isolated in a sense, like in a King Reform sense, where like here you're driving
Yeah.
like literally 15
Right.
minutes to another church. Or
There's a
10,
URC
5.
church in Calgary though.
There is, yeah.
A big, pretty big community. And then they also like a lot of them do go out to Lethbridge or
Yep.
Tabor, Coaldale, up to wherever. But they, like the youth there too. They have like a conference for
Yeah.
the youth there.
Summit, right?
A summit to go. Like,
Yes.
it's like our Roots conference
Yeah.
out here,
But like
and
on
it's
steroids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Versus where like
I've heard
the
about
youth
it.
get together
Mhm.
to find somebody. To,
It's all the
Yeah.
youth in the West, like everyone from
Yeah.
BC and Alberta.
very cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds cool.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm just curious, like just different stuff going on, the different ways to look at stuff, and
So,
Mhm.
adventure, real estate, business.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the business.
Yeah, you give the background on that if you want.
Well, I don't know. Lucas is taking over here, so just he thinks he can. Congratulations to him.
Yeah.
Hopefully don't
Gets
burn.
married, gets a
And,
business.
my kids aren't
Yeah.
in school yet, so
It's a good time.
good time.
And you have another one on the way.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
that's
oh
right.
wow! Congrats.
Hey, yeah. So,
So
breaking
much,
news on the
yeah.
podcast.
announced that to the podcast. Yeah.
In real time.
I was mentioning that to like some friends the other day, and they didn't even know. So I
No.
was like,
That's awesome.
just mentioned it in passing, and they're like, "Oh, that's news to me." I was like,
Nice.
should probably do a better job.
Put that
telling
on your
people stuff.
Instagram and tell people.
No, we don't do the Facebook thing much.
Well, social media family.
So
Cool,
so,
man.
yeah, another one on the way. So
So what that
Yeah,
means for the
3 years.
podcast is up in the air. But we got a couple suggestions. You want to go through a few?
yeah,
Yes.
let's throw to Mariah. Hey,
Maybe I
Mariah.
can have that paper.
Absolutely. Otherwise, I
Um,
can do it.
Yeah, good luck reading his writing.
Yeah,
can't
that's
read it.
interesting. One thing I was thinking about is getting rid of YouTube. I don't know.
YouTube, not
Bold.
you too. Yeah.
Yeah, not YouTube.
Those
Yeah,
songs,
this
is YouTube.
my
those songs are
podcast
on
now.
your phone forever.
No, yeah, that's
Mer-
true.
Mariah was taking over.
Yeah.
No, never. This will probably be my first and last time on the
I think-
podcast. So I do all the editing for YouTube. It takes quite a bit of time and the return is not great. We don't have a ton of views, but is that something people would be willing to give up and go to, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and just listen an audio file instead of having YouTube as
Or
an option?
Dropping YouTube, like just an audio file on YouTube
Yeah, we could
So-
do that. It's just because on
for our 90-something-year-old guests who don't know how to get on any other platform.
I'd be happy to show them how, if that means we can get rid of YouTube. It's just when we have 3 people on Zoom, that's not really conducive style to watch. It's not that engaging. It often lags in
Yeah.
the timing and stuff. So it just isn't the best way to do it. Of course, we'd love to keep doing this, but that's just not possible doing it, in person style. So that's something we have to think through. I'd just be curious to hear people's feedback on
Mhm.
just get rid of YouTube or
Yep.
no, I need YouTube. I don't think there really is that many people that feel that way, but there might be. So I'm curious to just hear people's thoughts on that. If we go away from the YouTube, we could do more clips type thing, promote more
Yeah,
on social media.
Still video it, but then
Still video it, but then just use that for promotional material, getting the main things of the podcast out on social media, that type of thing. We could even look at possibly doing shorts like on YouTube, which is just short clips of, important parts or things that stood out, using, that footage, but doing it in a smaller format type thing. So that's an option. I'd be curious to hear people's response to that and what they like to view and the way they like to consume media. That would help us kind of decide how we want to move forward with that.
Yep. And any ideas really for
I don't
more
think- yeah.
social engagement online
What
too.
do you
like-
guys want to see?
if
So-
people care.
Yeah, if you
some people
care.
are like, just give me something to listen to.
Or if you just want to know when the podcast comes out, it's, every other Monday, but
It's true.
it's a good reminder. Just wake up on Monday morning and see there's a new episode out, but except for last Monday.
Wow. We were gonna tell people we're taking the summer off, and then we just ended up banking a whole bunch of episodes at the end.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, right.
Wow, we're just gonna roll this into July.
Yeah.
Oh, is this not on schedule?
Now we're a week behind.
We're a
on
week
when this
behind.
drops.
That's
Yeah.
news to me.
Yeah.
But-
Well, my apologies.
Just means it's more
that's
real.
more my fault than anything. So
Nah. It's more
Yeah, no.
important.
So yeah, we are going to take a little bit of summer break, and then, but yeah, hopefully we crank out a few more of these in-person ones before we switch our style up a bit.
Yeah.
mhm.
So then for the fall, we're thinking we got a whole bunch of ideas, which we'll get into in a second. But then we're probably going to pre-record a whole bunch before Tyler leaves, which is sometime in October. That is the current
plan.
arrangement. And then so we'll run those at the end of the year. We'll do a couple feedbacks, maybe 2, maybe 3. And we'll get possibly John Dykstra on, RP editor, perhaps Mark Peniga, just a couple more knowledgeable folks, and bring them in for a good third-party
Set us straight.
POV.
Yep.
Yeah, set us
Mhm.
straight, exactly. Tell us all the questions we forgot to ask, basically.
Yeah.
And that'll take us into the new year. And then once Ty's over there all settled, we'll probably start doing solo episodes, I think, on Zoom,
Hmm.
just for the sake of scheduling and whatnot. It's a bit up in the air still. But then we kind of like this idea of doing reverse feedback episodes. So if Tyler does an episode by himself with a guest, then we'll have a follow-up one, and then it'll be feedback, and I can rip Tyler to shreds for all the
criticize
terrible interview tactics he took.
Yeah.
And then vice versa. So,
Right.
Yeah. So
I'll
It's
just
an
make sure I
option.
clear my throat really good before the
Yeah,
podcast.
no
because
more
we get torn
throat
apart
clear.
in the feedback.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if that sounds like a terrible idea, let us know. That's just something we're throwing around right now. This is, kind of a community podcast, so we have to run it, but also we're open to a lot of great ideas.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we also got to see if we can develop some kind of, Zoom's probably not the best thing to be using, so we'll see.
some technology of some sort.
I know lots of people listen to good podcasts they can't tell that people aren't in the same room, so don't know what that they use, but.
So if there's anyone listening who has a podcast that they run remotely and they have good ideas,
Call Allie
Mm.
Bestucky. She'll probably call.
yeah, well, I got her on speed dial.
There you go.
which
Well,
is
we could talk to the Great Exchange guys
true.
because they're, I
Remote.
believe, are both separate. Like
Yep.
they record separately from their house.
Look at this.
How's
Mariah
this?
with like the just ridiculous
See,
segue.
we're kind of like
It's like-
peeking behind the curtain of this entire podcast. Any like good ideas that typically come out, Mariah's like, "Oh, throw it in the chat."
No,
Yeah.
no.
That's good. No, that was
Okay.
just a ridiculous segue. He was like,
I didn't even mean for that to be.
oh,
but
no? Because we were talking about getting the Great Exchange.
Well,
yeah,
yeah. Why don't you give us a couple of the
Sure.
ideas we're gonna have?
Yeah, so the Great Exchange podcast is from two guys, one out in Alberta, I believe, and one in Winnipeg. And they do
they
conversations like this. They are reformed,
Yeah.
yes. I think one is URC and the other, I'm not sure what denomination he is.
They're going to be disappointed. We don't know anything about them.
Yeah, got to do a little more research, but they have some really great content. They actually did a response to the episode that we had with Will and Sam. So if you're interested in hearing what that might be, feel free to go check out their podcast.
So
If you want to know how to be a better podcaster,
Yeah.
basically.
heavy
No.
handed
They enjoyed it,
No,
but they just have some good criticism. So
we had good criticism. We
Yeah.
should do our own criticizing podcast.
you could
Usually
do,
it's like the Tuesday or Wednesday or after or whatever, or maybe like 2 or 3 days after we record.
yeah.
And we just like rant about how we suck so much. So
Well, Tyler always listens to it, and then he tells me about it. I'm like, I can't even
they're
listen
like,
to it at
that
all.
was gold, man.
I just
Oh,
remember
that's-
it. I'm like, that wasn't
No.
good. No.
Yeah. So you could do something like that, just criticize your own podcast. I feel like that could be some funny content. You could come up with that, but
Maybe some shorts for
Yeah.
social.
Clips
might be a
channel,
little not fun for you guys. So
We'll probably
um,
Zoom a lot. So we just hit the record button. and
yeah,
We'll send you any gold. that
there you go.
comes through.
That'll be perfect. Or I can just sift through that all and it's fine stuff.
It's a nightly entertainment.
Yeah. What else are we looking at? So Darren Bosch is Tyler's uncle.
Mm.
We've been hoping to get him on for probably the last 6 months or
A
Year.
Oh,
at
it's been a
this
year,
point.
year and a half.
Um,
Yeah.
so he has Deliberate You, right? That's
Mhm.
his organization. He helps Christian businesses.
So yeah, he's like
Achieve
he's a
business
Mentor.
Yeah,
success.
mentor.
Yeah.
They actually
So-
had some interesting developments over COVID. So
Okay.
with their business. So I just briefly talked to him at some party shower
Mm.
or something or other that we were at.
Shower party.
Yeah, okay. Guys don't do showers. What is it? Engagement party or something?
Shower party sounds like you're in the shower.
Yeah. No, no,
Yeah, probably not that.
Not what
No.
you're envisioning.
No.
Anyways,
Anyways, so but yeah, he said still really interested in coming on and just has not
at the
panned
time.
out.
Fair
But
enough.
we'll, definitely excited about that one.
Yeah. So that's hopefully one we'll be able to
Yeah.
drop early fall.
We've teased that one like 7 times. or
Yeah,
something.
oh, yeah. We're gonna book it now.
Yeah.
So it'll happen.
Yeah.
One that I'm pretty excited about kind of goes along with what Reform Perspective is doing. They, in their last magazine, I believe it was, they had a insert kind of that you could pull out, and that was on the, I think it's called the New Catechism on Sexual Identity and
Human-
Gender.
So,
Yeah, it's thick. I don't like
It's
I
a
don't
pretty
know
big
if it's-
thing.
I just got it.
Chris Gordon, no?
Yeah. Yes.
Give
So
it a goog for a sec. Pull it up.
Christopher Gordon is a pastor from Escondido, California,
Yeah.
a United Reform pastor, and he wrote this New Catechism, they call it, so to help parents and really to help anyone understand this topic. So I think it would be great to get him on. That's not confirmed, but hopefully we'll be able to have him on and do a conversation on what this podcast or what this catechism looks like,
Mhm.
and more just general, like talking about sexuality and gender.
The New Reformation Catechism on Human Sexuality.
I knew it.
There you
Yeah.
go. You got it down pat.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, it was published by RP, right? So
Yes.
And
No,
they're-
no, it
No,
wasn't.
no.
Oh.
Sorry. No.
But
they
the entire
featured
thing
it.
is in the magazine.
Yes.
It
In
is-
the Reform Perspective
Yeah.
magazine.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah.
sorry. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So I believe that
It wasn't
magazine
like
came
your-
out this summer.
Yeah,
it's not-
I have it. I
Not
have it in my
published
house.
by RP or anything.
Sorry, yeah, okay, not his actual thing, but
No.
the whole thing is written in that.
So if you would like
I
the whole
got it,
thing for free, yeah,
Go
check out
subscribe.
RP. Yeah,
Yes.
which isn't free, so there you have it.
no, but you get the
Oh.
magazine.
It is free online.
Yeah, free with a subscription.
Free with a subscription. Yeah, when you subscribe,
It's
you
like a
get it all
month
for
club.
free.
Yeah, exactly. Pay us money. It's
Yeah.
free.
Yeah, but if you want to support the podcast, one way to do that is through Reform Perspective. So if
Totally.
you enjoy what you're listening to, they'd really appreciate your support.
Yep.
You can find them at reformperspective.ca.
.ca.
Yes.
They've been really good to us. So
Yeah. Or .com. Might be the one or the other.
I'm pretty sure it's .ca.
Okay.
I'm gonna go on a limb and
I
just
can
stick with
link
that.
them in the description.
They're the only Reform Perspective out there, I think. So,
Yes.
anyways,
Add
okay,
some
so
more?
that's a few of the ideas, but we got a whole bunch more. We won't bore you all day because this is a pretty long feedback episode already. But we had Jim Wittevane on a while back, a good while back actually, and that was a really fun episode. We
Mhm.
talked all about like kind of the Great Reset, basically, sort of like those kind of
Propaganda.
topics, propaganda,
Propaganda.
that kind of thing. Anyways, he's put all his thoughts together in a book called "How in the World Did We Get Here?" and it should be coming out sometime in the near future. So apparently,
Book
I know
review podcast.
John Dykstra's read it and he recommends it highly. So if John recommends it highly, I think it should be a good book. So
Yep.
that'll be fun. We hopefully can get him back on, talk about all those topics because yeah, it's a crazy world out there. There's a
Mhm.
lot going on. So
Yep.
yeah, who knows? Could be in a food shortage by like next
Mm.
winter. So
Hopefully
That
not.
should be interesting.
good times.
Yeah.
Okay, what else we got?
Yeah,
here?
I don't know. Some just high level stuff. Yeah. I don't know.
Education.
CanRef URC relations and stuff like that.
Yep.
We've been throwing that around for forever and ever.
That'd be a
Those
good one.
those
Um,
were some listener topics that
Yes.
were recommended.
Yes.
So
I mean, yeah, that's kind of been always on my brain. I mean, now you're a URC, so you just got to get yourself like right in the URC mind.
Yeah,
And we'll
yeah.
just hash it out.
and
Yep.
one you guys talked about off and on this like last year was doing one on Lord's Supper,
Yes.
which we don't have
We don't even
written
have that on
down.
the
But
paper here.
No.
if there's any pastors out there that have a passion for Lord's Supper and would like to,
I know of a
talk
few
about
who have a
it.
passion for it, and none of them feel qualified enough. But I don't
Hmm.
know if we have to feel qualified enough to come on and talk about it. But
This is not an intimidating platform by any stretch.
they let me on. So
Yeah.
yeah,
This is just
We
a
had
feedback
Tyler's wife
episode,
on.
but-
Like, I'm sure
Yeah.
mine
Yeah.
will come on. So it's relaxed. Singleness and dating. I think that was one
Yes.
that we've had a fair amount of requests. So shout out to all our single listeners.
dating in the social media era.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is, it's a crazy thing.
mhm.
So yeah, that'll be interesting because that wasn't
You didn't have that?
No, yeah, I was. Yeah, we talked about that today.
Yeah,
actually.
we did. Yeah. He was the Facebook generation.
That was Facebook.
I met my wife on
gen-
Instagram,
Instagram?
DM.
Yeah, which is
Nice.
crazy.
Yeah.
My generation used and burnt Facebook for everybody, which
Yeah.
you're welcome.
Marketplace
great.
is
Yeah.
about the only thing
We
worth
tested
Yeah,
that out.
Marketplace,
and it didn't
yeah.
work.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I think that could be a really good episode, really helpful because our audience is pretty young
Yep.
in listeners. And
you're pretty young. Well, you're pretty young too.
yeah, you're pretty young too. So
No.
Don't give him that. He's almost 30.
Getting old.
He's an old bugger.
let's not color all 30s as old because they're
well,
not.
some pissed off listeners.
Yeah.
then. Okay. Well, anyways, those are a good chunk of the topics. We got a few more written down here, but we should
Yeah, if you got
probably,
someone, I mean, there's
sort
always
those.
hot button ones that we could touch on too.
Yeah.
But
One-
evolution was one that we wanted to talk
yeah,
about.
and
Theistic,
the global warming. That's not what it's
Oh.
called anymore.
Oh,
Climate
climate
change.
change.
Yeah, climate change has
You
been
mean
recommended a
the
couple
climate
times.
crisis?
Climate
Yeah.
crisis,
Yes.
whatever you want to call it.
I don't know. Do we have a reform perspective on climate change around?
we need to reform Bjorn Lomberg to come on.
We just have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if there's anyone that thinks of someone that knows someone who can talk about that,
Greta Thunberg.
No.
Probably not
She can-
her.
She's had enough.
someone from
airtime.
a Christian
She-
perspective maybe would be helpful.
If you braided your hair, you could probably pass it.
I could pass this.
Yeah, Greta Thunberg.
I hope not.
I don't know if that's a compliment.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Yeah, no,
anyways.
that's definitely up and coming. I mean, especially if our political situation stays the way it is.
hmm
Trudeau's
So
been pushing that pretty hard.
yeah, that
so,
was just a recommended listener.
you know,
mention
that
that,
one.
so-
I might be able to find someone out west. That's a big
Yeah. With the
sore point
fertilizer
in
thing.
Alberta. So
Okay. Well, we've probably
That's
gone on
kinda
long enough.
right.
I think
If
that's
you-
kind
if
of the
anyone else
podcast
is
right
fan-
now.
if anyone else has any ideas, like
Now's the
good
time.
ideas
Let
to
us
talk
know.
about,
Reform
Mariah
Real
likes
Talk
to say
at
that we're heading for a new
gmail.com.
season.
Yeah.
So-
Once
Yeah.
again,
Year
Reformed Real
3.
Talk.
Year 3 of the podcast. Yes. And you can reach us at reformrealtalk@gmail.com.
There you go.
And you'll get Mariah when you do that.
You
'cause we don't look at those.
We check them out though. We do
Sometimes
reply.
you get in front of me and then I don't see
I do,
emails
I do.
for
Tyler,
a
never.
while.
I
Oh
do.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, I get them on
Yeah.
my phone. I should stop doing that.
Yeah, don't look at them before I
okay,
do
that is
because
kinda
I'll
weird.
miss
We'll
it.
Yeah.
We'll hit stop
We'll just get
recording
out of
and then
that
we'll
inbox.
hash that out there.
Yeah.
I'll let you know what you guys need to know.
Fair
Yeah.
enough.
Alrighty. Well, if you made it this far, thanks for listening. Thanks for your support. It's been a ton of fun.
We'll
Mhm.
see you in like September, I think.
September.
Yeah. September. Early September. All right. Till then, keep having real talk. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Real Talk. We really appreciate you taking the time to listen or watch the show. If you want to send us your feedback, and we'd love to hear it, please email us at reformedrealtalk@gmail.com. If you want to find us online or social media, we got a lot of great content there. Just search Reformed Real Talk and we should come right up. This show is created and produced by myself, Lucas Holtfluer, and Tyler Vanderwood. And our wonderful podcast manager who does all the editing is Mariah Tamiga. So we're really thankful for her contribution to the show as well. That's all for now, folks. Thanks for watching or listening, and we'll catch you next time. Bye-bye.